Hey buddies, it's Andy here at Navigraph and welcome to this ILS tutorial today. An ILS is an instrument landing system and is defined as a precision runway approach aid based on two radio beams which together provide pilots with both vertical and lateral guidance during an approach to land. The localizer provides horizontal guidance while the glide slope defines the correct vertical descent profile. So now the question is, how do we set up the plane in order to show those diamonds and let them lead us down towards the runway? When pilots set up for an approach, they look at their chart, and this is where Navigraph comes into the picture. We provide charts to the flight sim community, and we're going to use this chart for Heathrow for this approach. So starting from the top left, we have the localizer of 109.5. That should be set in the navigation radio panel. And we do that by turning the knob to the right, and then we set it as active. Then we want to set the course, in this case it's 270, and we set that in the MCP panel. And then we want to set the pressurization panel, in this case 83 feet rounded up to 100 feet. And then we want to set up the flight management computer. Starting with the Fox India 27 left, we have in magenta, as you can see in the FMC. That is the point that we're proceeding to, and it's marked as yellow on the chart. Then we have the runway, and the rest of the points belongs to the go-around, which we will brief in more detail in the plane. But we make sure that everything is in the FMC. And then we want to set our minimums, which in this case is 277 feet. So this is the altitude at which we have to initiate a go-around if we can't see the runway. So in order to set those minimums of 277 feet, we first press the reset button in order to view what we have in the primary flight display. As you can see here, we have set it to 200 feet. So we turn the knob clockwise in order to set the altitude to 277 feet. Right, so here we are in the flight deck and we're proceeding to the Fox India 27 left at Heathrow Airport, basically a straight in approach to runway 27 left. Now I want to show you how I set up this. So we're going to the departures arrivals page, selecting arrival for Echo Golf Lima Lima and then the runway of 27 left. Then you can select stars and transitions and so on, but today we're just proceeding straight to the ILS. So we're going to the legs page and picking up the Fox India 27 left point here, and then we will execute this. Right, so we will come back to the FMC and the routing later on, but now I want to show you what I have set up. So we're starting again from top left, 109.5. That should be set in the navigation radio box 1 and 2, and you can see that this has been set. And then I have tuned 113.6, which is for the missed approach, which we will brief later. Then we have the course of 270, which I showed you that should be set in the MCP panel on both sides, which is done. And then the airport elevation of 83 feet, which is set in the landing altitude window for the pressurization. Cool, so as we are descending and as we're approaching the airport, we want to decelerate the plane. And that is what we're doing at the moment. And in order for us to decelerate even more, we have to bring out more flaps. So we'll start with bringing out flaps 1 here. And there are different automation modes in the 737, and right now we're using both LNAV and VNAV, which is quite a high level of automation. So at the moment the airspeed is being bugged by itself, so you can see that the speed was bugged down to the flap 1 speed. And now when we're bringing out the next stage of flap, which is flap 5, the speed bug will automatically be bugged down to the flap 5 speed. So now we want to bring up the FMC and look at the routing that we have compared to the chart. So starting with the Fox India 27 left that we're proceeding to right now, we can see that we have 2500 as an altitude on the chart, and it is put in the FMC as well. So the next point is just the runway itself, and then we have the go around. So we're climbing straight ahead, and when passing 1080 or distance 0 India Lima Lima, whichever is later. Okay, so we hold there and have a look in the FMC. We have the 1080 point. Cool, so we can continue climbing, turn left on track 147 to 2000 feet. Okay, so we don't have the 2000 in the FMC, so we have to put that in manually. 2000 feet, and then we add that and we execute. So continuing reading, when passing distance 6 from London VOR, we have already tuned London in standby as you saw. Climb without delay to 3000 feet, then as directed. 3000 is in the FMC as well. So that's that, and we set the minimums of 277 feet. So that's enough for briefing, guys. Now we want to look at the instrument, what's actually happening at the moment. So as you can see, we are already on the localizer basically here. So we're gonna arm the approach mode, and the localizer is gonna become captured. So pressing the approach button, you will see that the localizer has now been captured. And the trigger action here is that we set the runway heading when the localizer is captured. Now I want you to look at the glide slope. It's slowly moving downwards, and this we call glide slope alive. At any point now it will become captured. As you can see, it is now captured, and then the trigger action is to set the missed approach altitude. So in this case the initial missed approach altitude is 2000 feet. So in case of a missed approach, we climb initially to 2000 feet, and then after distance 6 London VOR we climb up to 3000 feet. Cool, so now we want to bring the gear down and set the flaps to 15. And now when we're not flying in LNAV, VNAV anymore, we're in the approach mode, we have to bug the speed ourselves. So we set the speed to the flap 15 maneuver speed here. So the next configuration step will be to bring out flap 30, which is our landing flap. But first of all, we want to do some checks. So we have the start switches that shall be set to continuous, and then we want to arm the speed brake for landing as well. And then we want to set our landing flap as well. So we're setting the flaps to 30 here, and we always want to match the speed, as you know. So we are bringing up the FMC, going to the init ref page and looking at what speed we have for flap 30. It's 143, so adding 5 knots to that will give us a final approach speed of 148. So that is set in the MCP airspeed window. And the next step is to turn on the landing lights as soon as we get the landing clearance. Right, so if you want to learn more about landing and the landing technique that real pilots apply, I suggest you to watch our landing tutorial, which is on our channel as well. Right buddy, so that's gonna round up the video for today. If you haven't already, do make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as following us on Instagram for even more content. Till next time, take care, I'll see you, bye.